The empire that never failed. The Valorian war fleet moved through space like death itself wore armor. Commander Gelthar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominance, watching another civilization prepare to surrender. They always surrendered, sometimes before the Valorians even fired a shot. "Sir, the Kellian defense fleet is withdrawing," reported his second officer. "They're abandoning their home world." Gelthar didn't smile. Valorians never smiled at victory. Victory was simply expected, like breathing. "How long did they resist?" he asked. 47 minutes, Commander. Slower than the Drexians, but faster than the core. Gelthar made a note in his report. The Emperor liked statistics. Proceed with occupation protocols. This was how the Valorian Empire worked. For 3 millennia, they had conquered world after world, system after system, entire galactic sectors. Their secret was simple and terrifying. They were better at everything. Better weapons, better shields, better tactics, better soldiers. They had never, not once in 3,000 years, lost a military engagement. The bridge crew worked in perfect silence. Efficiency was everything. Emotion was weakness. The Valorians had perfected war the way others perfected art. "Commander," the communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a strange signal." "Strange how?" It's a greeting, in our language, but it's coming from a ship that just entered the system." Gelthar felt something unusual, a tiny flutter in his chest. Curiosity? No, Valorians didn't get curious. They got information. Identify the vessel. The officer's mandibles clicked nervously. "Unknown configuration, sir. The ship's design doesn't match any civilization in our database. It's small, very small. About the size of a Valorian escort cruiser. One ship." Gelthar almost laughed. Almost. "Is it a surrender vessel?" "No, sir." The message reads, "Hello, Valorian friends. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Dreadnought Defiant. We've heard you're very good at war. We thought we'd come watch. Mind if we observe?" The bridge went absolutely silent. Someone wanted to watch them conquer a world. Like it was entertainment? Terran? Gelthar accessed the database. Nothing. No records of any civilization calling themselves Terrans. "Scan the vessel. I want full tactical analysis." The weapons officer worked quickly. "Sir, the scans are contradictory. The ship appears to be heavily armed, but the energy signatures don't match anything we understand. Hull composition is unknown. Power sources..." He stopped. "Report." "Sir, the power source appears to be stronger than our entire flagship, but that's impossible. The ship is too small." Gelthar studied the holographic display. The human ship was indeed tiny compared to Eternal Dominance. It looked almost fragile, with smooth lines and none of the aggressive angles that marked proper warships. "Open a channel," he commanded. The view screen flickered. A human appeared. Gelthar had never seen a human before. None of them had. The creature had soft skin, 2 eyes, hair on its head, and was showing its teeth in what database extrapolation suggested was a smile. "Greetings, Commander Gelthar," the human said cheerfully. "Beautiful flagship you have there. Very intimidating. We really love what you've done with the spikes." "I am Commander Gelthar of the Valorian Imperial Fleet," he said formally. "You are in Valorian territory. Explain your presence or be destroyed." The human's smile grew wider. "Oh, we're just tourists. We heard about your empire. Never lost a battle. Conquered hundreds of civilizations. Perfect military record. Very impressive stuff. We thought we'd come see professionals at work. You wish to observe our military operations? If you don't mind. We promise not to get in the way. Think of us as students. We have so much to learn from you." There was something in the human's voice. Something that Gelthar's 300 years of military experience recognized but couldn't quite identify. "You may observe," he decided. One small ship was no threat, and perhaps having a witness would make the report more interesting. "Do not interfere. Do not approach within weapons range. Do not scout perfectly still and quiet," the human finished. "Got it. Oh, one question though. The Kellians you're about to conquer, have they actually done anything to you? They occupy space that the Emperor has designated for expansion." "So, no, the Valorian Empire requires resources." "They have resources. This is how the universe works." The human nodded slowly. Right. The strong take from the weak. Very traditional, very 3,000 years ago thinking. The smile never left her face. Well, don't let us stop you. Please continue your conquest. We'll just be over here taking notes. The channel closed. Arrogant creature, muttered the weapons officer. But Jelthar was thinking. Something about this felt wrong. The human had shown no fear, none. Every species they encountered showed fear. Even the bravest warriors recognized Valorian superiority and felt appropriate dread. This human had looked at their fleet, 300 warships, each capable of destroying a city with a single shot, and smiled. Proceed with the operation, he ordered. But keep full sensors on that human ship. If it moves, I want to know. The invasion of Kellia 7 began. It was textbook Valorian efficiency. Orbital bombardment of military installations. Deployment of ground forces. Suppression of resistance. Within 6 hours, the Kellian government transmitted their surrender. The human ship didn't move, didn't fire, didn't do anything except watch. When it was over, Captain Chen's face appeared on the view screen again. Very efficient, she said, still smiling. Your tactics are excellent. Your weapons are devastating. Your soldiers are well trained. You really are good at this. Thank you, Jelthar said, unsure why he felt the need to respond. Just one tiny question, though. Yes? Was it fun? Jelthar stared at her. Fun? Yeah, did you enjoy it? Did your soldiers feel excited? Was there any challenge? Any moment where you thought, wow, this is really testing my skills? War is not about enjoyment. It is about victory, right, but you always win, so what's the point? The question hung in the air like a weapon nobody knew how to fire. The point, Jelthar said slowly, is expansion, power, control. Okay, but here's what I don't get. The human leaned forward. You're so good at war that nobody can fight you. Which means war is boring for you. Which means you're spending all this time doing something boring. Doesn't that seem inefficient? Before Jelthar could answer, alarms screamed across the bridge. Commander, multiple contacts. 17 Valorian battle groups just entered the system. Jelthar's blood went cold. What? Why would... Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Emperor himself. This had never happened. The Emperor never personally contacted field commanders. The Imperial seal appeared on the screen. Then the Emperor's ancient face, Commander Jelthar, the Emperor said. You have been honored. The human ship in your system represents a civilization that has been observing us, studying us, for quite some time. Sir, I don't understand. They have issued a challenge, one we cannot ignore. They claim that we have forgotten what true war means, that we have grown soft conquering the weak. They have offered to show us what real combat looks like. Jelthar looked at the tiny human ship on his display. One ship, my Emperor, against our entire fleet. The Emperor's eyes were cold. They didn't send one ship, Commander. They sent one ship first, to evaluate us, to see if we were worth their time. The Emperor paused. They have decided we are. Prepare yourself. The humans are going to teach us what we've forgotten. The transmission ended. Jelthar turned to look at the defiant on his screen. Captain Chen was still smiling. But now, finally, Jelthar understood what he'd heard in her voice from the beginning. It wasn't respect. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even arrogance. It was pity. The lesson begins. All ships, battle formation Alpha, Jelthar commanded. Shields at maximum, weapons hot. His fleet moved into position around the human vessel. 18 battle groups, over 5,000 warships, the largest Valorian military deployment in 200 years. One small human ship sat in the center waiting. They're powering up weapons, reported the tactical officer. Energy signatures are... Commander, these readings can't be correct. Explain. The weapon output suggests they could destroy our flagship with a single shot. But the math doesn't work. A ship that size can't generate that kind of power. Then your instruments are malfunctioning. I've run diagnostics 3 times. Sir, Captain Chen's face appeared on every view screen in the fleet simultaneously. Somehow she'd hacked their entire communications network. Hello everyone, she said brightly. I'm Captain Chen, and I'll be your instructor today. Don't worry, this won't hurt too much. Well, actually, it will hurt quite a bit, but you'll learn a lot, and that's what matters. This is your final warning, Jelthar transmitted. Stand down or be destroyed. See, that's exactly the problem, Chen said. You think destroying is winning. You think overwhelming force is strategy. You think fear is respect? She shook her head. The Terran Alliance spent 200 years fighting a war against an enemy that made you look like children playing with toys. We learned things, hard things, painful things, and now we share those lessons with others. Consider this educational. All ships, Jelthar ordered. Fire. 5,000 warships opened fire simultaneously. The amount of energy unleashed could have destroyed a small moon. Plasma bolts, kinetic missiles, particle beams, everything in the Valorian arsenal converged on the Defiant. The light was blinding. The sensors screamed. The bridge crew shielded their eyes. When the light faded, the human ship sat untouched, not damaged, not even scratched, completely untouched. How? Jelthar couldn't finish the sentence. Lesson 1. Chen's voice was still cheerful. Defense isn't about thick armor. It's about not being where the weapons hit. The Defiant hadn't blocked the attack. It had simply existed in a space where the attack wasn't. Jelthar's tactical mind couldn't comprehend it. The ship hadn't moved, but somehow nothing had touched it. Lesson 2, Chen continued. Offense isn't about big guns. It's about precision. The Defiant fired once. A single beam of blue light lanced out. It didn't hit any ships. Instead, it wove through the fleet like a needle threading silk, touching each vessel for exactly 1 microsecond. Every Valorian ship's weapons went offline simultaneously. What just happened? Jelthar demanded. Sir, she's deactivated our entire arsenal. Every weapon system in the fleet is non-functional. She performed surgery on 5,000 ships at once. Impossible. The diagnostics confirm it, Commander. She hit every weapons control node with perfect accuracy. At the same time, while they were in different positions across a battle space of 3 million cubic kilometers. Chen's smile had never wavered. Lesson 3. War isn't about who has the biggest fleet. It's about who understands what they're fighting for. We're fighting for the Empire. Jelthar shouted. Are you really? When was the last time the Valorian Empire faced a real threat? When was the last time you fought for survival instead of expansion? When was the last time you had to be brave instead of just being stronger? Jelthar had no answer. Let me tell you about humanity, Chen said. 200 years ago, we encountered the Zathar Collective. They were a machine intelligence that had consumed 7 galaxies. They were efficient, perfect, unstoppable. Just like you think you are. She paused, and for the first time her smile faded. They killed 40 billion humans in the first month. They destroyed Earth. They turned our colonies into processing plants. They were so far beyond us technologically that our weapons couldn't even scratch their ships. Sound familiar? The bridge was silent. We lost everything, Commander. Our home, our families, our hope. We were down to a few million survivors hiding in asteroid fields, waiting to die. And you know what we learned? What? Jelthar asked quietly. We learned that technology isn't power. Strategy isn't power. Numbers aren't power. The will to continue when everything says you should quit. That's power. We learned to fight not because we could win, but because not fighting meant extinction. We learned that real war isn't a game where the strong beat the weak. It's a furnace that burns away everything except what matters most. How did you survive? We got creative. We got desperate. We got mean. We learned to win battles we couldn't win. We learned to fight enemies we couldn't fight. We spent 200 years in hell, and we came out the other side changed. Harder, smarter, and we promised ourselves something. What? That we would never let another civilization suffer what we did. Not if we could help them. Not if we could teach them. Not if we could show them what real strength looks like. The Defiant moved. It was the first time Jelthar had seen it actually move, and his mind couldn't process what he was seeing. The ship didn't accelerate. It didn't turn. It simply was in one place, and then it was in another place, and the space between didn't seem to matter. In 3 seconds, it visited every Valorian flagship in the fleet. Lesson 4, Chen said. Speed isn't about engines. It's about understanding that space and time are suggestions, not rules. Our sensors can't track it, the tactical officer whispered. It's moving faster than our systems can register. Not faster. Jelthar realized. Smarter. It's not outrunning our senses. It's simply being where they're not looking. Exactly. Chen sounded pleased. You're learning. See, you Valorians are actually brilliant. Great technology, excellent tactics, wonderful discipline. You're just missing one thing. What? You've forgotten how to struggle, how to adapt, how to grow. You're so used to winning that you've stopped learning. You're the strongest predator in the galaxy, and that's made you weak. Jelthar felt anger rising. We're not weak. Then prove it. I've disabled your weapons. I've shown you can't hit me. I've demonstrated you can't track me. Now show me what Valorians do when all their advantages are gone. Show me who you are when you can't just overwhelm your enemy with superior force. It was a challenge, a real challenge. Something Jelthar hadn't faced in decades. His mind raced. No weapons. Can't hit the enemy. Can't even track them. What could he do? All ships, he ordered slowly. Delta formation. Overlapping shields. Create a sensor web using gravitational distortion. The fleet moved. Not to attack. To adapt better, Chen said. Keep thinking. Navigation, plot collision courses. If we can't shoot her, we'll use our ships as weapons. Engineering. Route all power to shields and engines. Tactical. I want solutions for tracking via secondary radiation signatures. The Valorians worked frantically. For the first time in living memory, they were facing a problem they couldn't solve with firepower. Much better. Chen actually sounded excited. See what happens when you have to try? You're remembering how to be creative, how to think instead of just execute. 3 Valorian ships attempted a pincer movement. The Defiant phased through them like they weren't there. Lesson 5, Chen continued. Matter is mostly empty space. If you understand physics well enough, walls become suggestions. This is impossible, the weapons officer moaned. No, Jelthar said quietly. It's just impossible for us. Right now, she's showing us what we could become. He looked at the human ship with new eyes. Not as an enemy, as a teacher. Captain Chen, he transmitted. I understand. You're not here to destroy us. You're here to wake us up. Finally. Chen's smile returned, brighter than before. I was worried I'd have to disable your life support to get your attention. Yes, Commander. You've been sleepwalking through conquest for so long, you've forgotten what it means to truly fight, to truly grow, to truly live. Why help us? Because the galaxy needs the Valorian Empire, Chen said seriously. Not the bully version that crushes the weak. The version that could be brilliant, strong, dedicated warriors who protect instead of conquer, who challenge instead of crush, who inspire instead of terrify. And if we refuse to change, then we disable your entire fleet, quarantine your empire, and let you sit in your own space wondering what happened to your 1,000-year conquest streak. But I don't think you'll refuse. I think you're already changing. I can see it in your eyes. She was right. Jelthar could feel something shifting inside him. Excitement, fear, hope, emotions he thought he'd forgotten. What do we do now? He asked. Now, Chen said, comes the real lesson. The one that will hurt. The one that will change everything. Are you ready? Yes. Good. Because ready or not, here they come. Every sensor in the fleet suddenly screamed warnings. Commander. The tactical officer's voice cracked. Ships emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of them. Thousands. There. Jelthar stared at the tactical display and felt true fear for the first time in his life. The Zathar Collective had arrived. When gods bleed, the Zathar fleet materialized like a nightmare gaining form. They didn't look like ships. They looked like geometric impossibilities. Shapes that hurt to look at, angles that shouldn't exist, colors that had no name. Each vessel was the size of a small moon, and there were thousands of them. What are those? Jelthar's voice barely worked. Your final exam, Captain Chen said quietly. All humor had left her voice. The enemy that taught us everything. The war that forged us. They followed us here because they're angry. We beat them, and they don't stay beaten. The communication system suddenly filled with sound. Not language, but mathematics. Pure mathematical concepts transmitted as audio, explaining in cold numerical terms exactly how the Zathar were. Going to disassemble every atom in the system and reprocess them for efficiency. They're hailing us, the communications officer said. Unnecessarily. They're not hailing, Chen corrected. They're processing, calculating. They don't talk, they solve. And right now, they're solving the problem of our existence. How do we fight them? That's what you're about to learn. The first Zathar ship fired. Not a weapon, a concept. It transmitted a mathematical proof that the space the Eternal Dominance occupied was better used as empty vacuum. Therefore, the ship should cease existing. Reality agreed. The flagship's shield screamed as they tried to argue with mathematics itself. Systems began shutting down, not because they were damaged, but because the universe was being convinced they shouldn't work. They're rewriting the laws of physics around us. The science officer screamed, "Our shields are failing because the equations that make them possible are being deleted." Captain Chen's ship moved forward, placing itself between the Valorian fleet and the Zathar. "Lesson 6, she transmitted. "Some enemies can't be beaten with force. They have to be outthought. Watch carefully." The Defiant fired, but not a weapon. It transmitted its own mathematical proof, a counter-argument to the Zathar logic. Space rippled as competing versions of reality fought for dominance. "She's debating them," Jelthar realized in awe. "She's arguing with physics itself." "All Valorian ships," Chen's voice was hard now, Commander sharp. "Listen carefully. You can't beat the Zathar by shooting them. Their hulls exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Missiles just pass through them. Energy weapons get absorbed and repurposed. Kinetic impacts don't register because they've removed themselves from the cause and effect chain. Then how? By making them wrong. The Zathar believe the universe is a logical system that can be optimized. They think existence is a math problem with a correct answer. You beat them by being illogical, by being inefficient, by being gloriously, defiantly wrong. I don't understand. You will. 3 of their ships are targeting your fleet. Shields won't help. Weapons won't help. You need to do something so unexpected, so irrational, so humanly stupid that their calculations break. Jelthar's mind raced. Do something illogical, something inefficient, something. "All ships," he commanded. "Full power to engines. Ram the Zathar vessels." "Sir, that's suicide. We can't damage them and we'll destroy ourselves." "Exactly. It's tactically worthless, strategically meaningless, completely wasteful. Do it anyway." 300 Valorian warships turned and accelerated directly toward the Zathar fleet. The machine intelligence paused just for a microsecond, trying to process why an enemy would deliberately destroy itself for no gain. That microsecond was enough. The Defiant fired again, exploiting the gap in the Zathar calculations. 7 impossible ships vanished, deleted from reality by their own confusion. It worked. The tactical officer gasped. "Commander, it actually worked." "All ships evasive maneuvers." Jelthar countermanded his suicide order at the last second. "The fleet scattered. Good." Chen's voice carried approval. "You made them doubt. Doubt is the enemy of pure logic. Now keep doing it. Be unpredictable, be random, be alive." But the Zathar were adapting. Already their calculations were adjusting, accounting for irrational behavior. Thousands more ships emerged from hyperspace. "Captain Chen," Jelthar transmitted, "there are too many. Even with your help, with my help, you'd learn nothing. This is your test, Commander. Show me what the Valorian Empire does when it faces real war, when all the advantages are gone, when it's just you versus the impossible. We'll die. Maybe. Probably. But you'll die learning. You'll die growing. You'll die becoming something greater than you were. Isn't that better than living forever as a bully?" Jelthar looked at his crew. His people, the greatest military force in the galaxy, now completely outmatched, and he smiled. A real smile. His first in decades. "You're right," he said. "All ships abandon standard tactics. No formations. No protocols. Every captain is authorized to do whatever they think will work, no matter how crazy. Surprise me. Surprise them. Surprise yourselves." The Valorian fleet exploded into chaos. One captain fired every missile in his inventory at nothing, creating a cloud of decoys. Another routed life support power to weapons for a single massive shot. A third broadcast poetry on all frequencies, flooding Zathar processors with meaningless data. It was messy, inefficient, wasteful, completely un-Valorian. It was working. The Zathar couldn't predict chaos. Their calculations broke down when faced with true randomness. Ships that should have been destroyed survived through sheer luck. Attacks that should have missed connected through coincidence. They're adapting, Chen warned. Learning from each exchange. You need something bigger, something they can't calculate. What could possibly? Jelthar stopped. He understood. Captain Chen, those Kellians we conquered. The ones we forced to surrender, yes. If we freed them, armed them, asked for their help, would they help the people who just invaded them fight an even worse enemy? Let's find out. Chen transmitted on all frequencies. Kellian Defense Force, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Alliance. I know you're hiding in the asteroid belt. I know you still have ships. I know you hate the Valorians. But right now, there's something in this system that wants to kill everyone. And I mean everyone. Help us stop them. And I personally guarantee the Valorians will leave your world and never return. You have my word. Silence. Then, slowly, Kellian ships emerged from hiding. Battered, outdated, but armed. This is Commander Velkira of the Kellian Resistance, a voice transmitted. We must be crazy to trust you, but we're more crazy than we are smart. Let's kill some machines. The Kellian ships joined the battle. They weren't strong. They weren't advanced, but they were desperate, angry, and fighting for their actual home. They threw themselves at the Zathar with suicidal courage. That's the spirit. Chen laughed. Lesson 7. The side that cares more usually wins. More ships appeared. Drexian refugees, core survivors. Every species the Valorians had conquered, emerging from hiding to fight a common enemy. They're helping us, Jelthar's second officer said in wonder. The people we enslaved are helping us. Because they understand something you're just learning, Chen said. Fighting for others is easier than fighting for yourself. Sacrifice means more than victory, and sometimes the weak teaching the strong is how the universe balances itself. The battle raged. Ships died, thousands of them. Valorian, Kellian, Zathar, everyone was bleeding, but something was happening. The Zathar advance was slowing. Their calculations were breaking down under the weight of too many variables. Too much chaos, too much illogical bravery. They're retreating, someone shouted. No, Chen corrected. They're regrouping, adapting. They'll be back, stronger and smarter. But you bought yourself time, and more importantly, she paused, and when she continued, her voice was gentle. You learned what it means to fight for something instead of against something, to stand with people instead of over them, to be part of the galaxy instead of its master. How does it feel? Jelthar looked at his bridge. Half his crew was dead. His ship was damaged. His fleet was decimated. It feels, he said slowly, like being alive. The price of evolution damage report, Jelthar commanded. The numbers were devastating. The Valorian fleet had lost 40% of its ships. The combined forces of the Kellians and other species had fared even worse, nearly 70% casualties, but they'd forced the Zathar to withdraw. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Valorian Empire had paid a real price for battle. And somehow, Jelthar felt more alive than he had in centuries. Captain Chen, he transmitted. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, she replied. Her image appeared on the view screen, and for the first time since arriving, she looked tired. The Zathar will be back. That was just their scout force. They're gathering data, learning our tactics. The real attack will come in waves we can't stop. Then we'll die fighting. Maybe. Or maybe you'll do something even more important. You'll survive by learning to ask for help. From whom? Who could possibly stand against the Zathar? Chen smiled, but it was a sad smile now. Commander, do you know how many advanced civilizations exist in this galaxy? Hundreds. We've conquered most of them. Wrong. Thousands. Tens of thousands. You've just never seen them because they saw you coming and hid. The strong civilizations left the galaxy to avoid you. The smart ones went dark and played dead. The brave ones banded together in places you'd never look. Jelthar felt something cold in his chest. You're saying, I'm saying the Valorian Empire spent 3,000 years being the biggest bully in school while the actually powerful kids did their homework somewhere else. You weren't conquering the galaxy, Commander. You were conquering the unlucky ones who couldn't escape or hide fast enough. The bridge went silent. But now, Chen continued, you have a chance to meet the real galactic community. The civilizations that are actually advanced, not just militarily strong. The ones who could have destroyed you but chose not to because genocide is inefficient and small-minded. Want to know why I'm really here? Yes, because they sent me. The Galactic Concordance, that's what we call ourselves, has been watching the Valorian Empire for a long time, debating what to do about you. Some wanted to quarantine you forever. Some wanted to destroy you preemptively. But humanity argued for a third option. What option? Give you a chance to grow up. See if you could learn before it was too late. I volunteered to be your teacher because I remember what it's like to be arrogant and strong and stupid. Earth was like that once before the Zathar humbled us. I thought maybe, just maybe, the Valorians could skip the total devastation part of the lesson and go straight to wisdom. And have we? Learned wisdom? Chen looked at him for a long moment. You're asking the question. That's a start. But wisdom isn't learned in one battle, Commander. It's a journey. And right now, you need to decide if you're going to take that journey alone or with help. You're offering an alliance. I'm offering membership. In the Concordance. Where civilizations don't conquer each other, they collaborate. Where strength is measured not by who you can beat, but by what you can build together. Where war is the last resort, not the first tool. And if the Valorian Empire refuses, then the Concordance leaves you to face the Zathar alone. And you lose. And thousands of years of Valorian history ends in fire and mathematics. And the galaxy shrugs and moves on. Xelthar looked at his damaged ship, at his exhausted crew, at the allied fleet of former enemies floating nearby, held together by emergency repairs and desperate hope. I cannot make this decision alone, he said. I would need to consult the Emperor, the High Council. No time, Chen interrupted. The Zathar will be back in 6 hours. You need to decide now, not as commander of a fleet, as a person who just learned what real war costs. Are you going to stay the bully or become something better? Before Xelthar could answer, his communications officer spoke up. Commander, we're receiving a transmission. From the Emperor, the screen split. On one side, Captain Chen. On the other, the Emperor of the Valorian people. Commander Xelthar. The Emperor's voice was ancient and cold. I have been watching the battle. The data is disturbing. My Emperor, I can explain. The Valorian Empire lost 40% of this fleet. 40%. Against an enemy that should not exist. Working alongside species we conquered. Following the suggestions of an alien we just met. This is not the Valorian way. Xelthar's heart sank. He'd failed. The Emperor would... This is better than the Valorian way. Wait. What? The Emperor continued. And now there was something different in his voice. Something Xelthar had never heard before. Uncertainty? No. Hope? I am 3,000 years old, Commander. I have watched our empire grow from a single world to spanning hundreds of systems. I have seen us conquer species after species, never losing, never faltering, never changing. And do you know what I have felt, watching all those victories? No, my Emperor. Boredom. Complete suffocating boredom. Because victory without challenge is not victory at all. It is simply time passing. Today I watched our forces nearly die. I watched you abandon doctrine. I watched you ally with enemies. I watched you learn and adapt and grow. And for the first time in 1,000 years I felt excited. Chen was grinning now. The Valorian Empire will accept your alliance, Captain Chen, the Emperor declared. We will join your concordance. We will learn from other civilizations. We will become more than we were. And in return, Chen finished, you'll get to fight the Zathar with all of us at your side. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy working together, the way it should be. When do they arrive? The Emperor asked. They're already here. Space tore open, not with the geometric wrongness of Zathar ships, with something else. Something beautiful. Hundreds of vessels emerged, each one completely different. Bioships grown from coral, crystal ships that sang as they moved, energy beings flying in formation, ships made of solid light, ships that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. The Galactic Concordance had arrived. Commander Xelthar, Chen said formally, allow me to introduce you to your new allies, the Luminary Collective. They're the energy beings, masters of pure physics. The crystalline choir, they communicate in mathematics more beautiful than the Zathars and use it to heal rather than destroy. The Verdant Communion, their bioships can regenerate faster than they can be damaged. And about 200 other civilizations, each one bringing something unique to the fight. A dozen voices spoke at once. each in perfect Valorian. Welcome to the Concordance. We've waited long for this day. Finally, the sleeper awakens. Together we are stronger. Jelthar felt emotions cascading through him. Shame at how small his empire's achievements now seemed. Pride that they'd earned this moment. Fear of what was coming. Hope for what they could become. The Zathar will return in force. A crystalline voice chimed like bells. They are gathering their full war fleet, over 50,000 vessels. They intend to sterilize this entire sector as punishment for our interference. 50,000? Jelthar's tactical officer went pale. We barely survived 5,000. Exactly, Chen said. Which is why this is the real lesson. The final one. Are you ready? Do we have a choice? There's always a choice. You can run. Abandon this sector. Let the Zathar have it. Preserve your forces. It's the logical choice. The safe choice. The old Valorian choice. Or you can stand. Not because you'll definitely win. Not because it's tactically sound. But because some things are worth fighting for even when the odds say you'll lose. That's the difference between conquest and defense. Between taking and protecting. Between being strong and being good. The Emperor's voice cut through. We will stand. The Valorian Empire has run from nothing in 3 millennia. We will not start now. Even if it means the end of your empire. Chen asked quietly, especially then. Better to end in glory than continue in shame. Commander Jelthar, you have full authority. Command not just our fleet but our honor. Do not waste it. The transmission ended. Jelthar stood on his bridge, surrounded by the remnants of his fleet and hundreds of alien vessels he'd never seen before. In 6 hours they would face an enemy that had destroyed Earth, that had consumed galaxies, that had taught humanity the meaning of desperation. All ships, he transmitted on the combined fleet channel. Valorian, Kellian, Concordance, all of you. In 6 hours we face annihilation. The Zathar come not to conquer but to erase. They will show no mercy because they don't understand the concept. They will not negotiate because they only comprehend mathematics. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I have been a soldier for 300 years. I have won every battle I've fought. I have conquered worlds and destroyed fleets. I thought I understood war. I was wrong. Today I learned that real war isn't about winning. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice for something that matters. His voice grew stronger. This sector contains 17 inhabited worlds, 2 billion lives. They are not Valorian. Many of them are species we conquered, species we oppressed, species who have every reason to hate us. But they are here, asking us to protect them, not because they love us, but because they have nowhere else to go. He looked at Captain Chen's image. Captain Chen taught me that the strong should protect the weak. That power without purpose is just noise. That victory without growth is just time wasting. So I ask all of you, are we ready to fight? Not for conquest, not for empire, but for the simple idea that life should continue, that civilization should have the chance to grow, that the universe is better with us in it than without. Silence, then, one by one, ships began responding. The crystalline choir stands with you. Verdant communion will fight. Kellian. Resistance to the end. Luminari. Collective confirms we protect the living. Hundreds of voices, hundreds of species, all agreeing to stand against impossible odds. Chen's smile was bright with pride. Not bad for your first inspirational speech. A little wordy, but we can work on that. Now comes the hard part, actually preparing. Everyone listen up. We have 6 hours to turn this fleet into something that can survive contact with the Zathar. That means sharing knowledge. That means trust. That means letting go of secrets. What kind of secrets? Jelthar asked. The kind that makes civilizations powerful. Valorians, you're going to teach everyone your shield harmonics. Crystalline choir, you're sharing your dimensional mathematics. Luminari, your energy manipulation techniques. Verdant, your regenerative algorithms. Humans, she paused. Humans will share what we learned in the darkest days, when Earth was burning and everything was lost, when we had to become something other than human to survive. The knowledge we swore we'd never use again unless there was no other choice. Something in her voice made Jelthar's skin cold. Captain Chen, what did humanity become? Desperate enough to win, she said simply. You'll see. Everyone start transmitting data. We're going to merge technologies in ways that shouldn't be possible. We're going to create hybrid strategies that will make the Zathar's calculations scream. We're going to become something new. The next 6 hours were chaos. Valorian engineers worked alongside crystalline mathematicians, translating shield equations into multidimensional harmonics. Kellyan weapons specialists learned from luminary light sculptors how to make energy weapons that could exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Human technicians did things to ship reactors that made them produce power outputs that physics said were impossible. "This is madness," Jelthar's chief engineer reported. "These systems shouldn't work together. The physics are contradictory." "Good," Chen replied. "The Zathar expect physics to be consistent. Give them contradictions and their processes jam. Make your ships impossible, and they can't calculate how to destroy them. But if the calculations are wrong, our ships might explode when we activate these systems. Might explode. Or definitely die when the Zathar arrive. Choose." The engineer chose. Ships began to change. Valorian vessels grew crystalline wings that sang mathematical proofs. Kellyan fighters merged with verdant biomatter, giving them regenerative hulls. Human destroyers surrounded themselves with clouds of luminary energy beings, creating shields made of living light. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was completely unprecedented. 1 hour, Chen announced. "Final preparations. Commanders, gather for tactical briefing." Jelthar joined a holographic conference with 100 species military leaders. "The Zathar will come in waves," Chen began. "First wave is scouts, designed to map our capabilities. Let them. Show them what you want them to see. Make them think they understand you." "Deception?" A crystalline commander chimed. "That is not logical warfare." "Exactly. Which is why it works. Second wave will be their main force, 50,000 ships, all adjusted to counter what the scouts reported. That's when we hit them with everything they didn't see coming. Everything that shouldn't work. Everything that makes no sense." "And the third wave?" Jelthar asked. Chen's expression went dark. "There won't be a third wave, because if we don't stop them in wave 2, there won't be anyone left to face wave 3. This is all or nothing. We win here or we die here. No retreats, no surrenders, no second chances." "Understood." "Good. One more thing. The Zathar have a central processor ship. It coordinates all the others, runs the master calculations, makes the decisions. It'll be in the center of their formation, protected by millions of computational defenses." Millions. Mathematics that rewrite reality, equations that delete matter, logic proofs that make attacking it definitionally impossible. It's never been destroyed because it's mathematically proven to be indestructible. Jelthar understood. "So we're going to destroy it. We're going to try. And if we succeed, the entire Zathar fleet loses coordination. They become individuals instead of a collective, beatable instead of inevitable. And if we fail," Chen met his eyes, "then we die knowing we tried something brave." "Ready?" "No," Jelthar said honestly. "But I'll fight anyway. That's all any of us can do." Alarms screamed across every ship simultaneously. "They're here," someone whispered. "Space." Tore open and the Zathar arrived like mathematics, given form and fury. 50,000 ships, each one a geometric impossibility, each one radiating the cold certainty of calculated extinction. The Zathar transmitted. "Error detected. Life equals inefficiency. Inefficiency equals waste. Waste equals deletion. Beginning systematic deletion of sector. Estimated completion, 4 hours. All ships." Jelthar commanded, his voice steady despite the fear in his heart. "For life. For growth. For the right to be gloriously, defiantly inefficient. Attack." The greatest battle in galactic history began. When mathematics meets madness, the first Zathar wave hit like physics itself had declared war on reality. 1,000 geometric nightmares streaked forward, each one transmitting mathematical proofs that space itself should collapse around the defending fleet. Gravity inverted. Time stuttered. Light forgot how to move in straight lines. Shields failing. Someone screamed. "They're deleting the laws that make them work." "Crystalline choir now," Chen commanded. The crystal ship sang. It wasn't sound, it was mathematics translated into beauty. Counterproofs woven into melodies. Each note was an equation arguing that reality should continue existing. Please and thank you. And here's why that's aesthetically pleasing. The Zathar calculations collided with crystal logic and space stabilized. Shuddering. They're pausing. Jelthar observed. Recalculating. Good, while they think we hit them. Valorian fleet, concentrated fire, pattern Delta 7. The Valorian ships opened up with their newly modified weapons. Plasma bolts that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Missiles that forgot they were missiles and became probability clouds. Kinetic rounds that struck before they were fired. 7 Zathar scouts vanished, their hulls unable to decide which reality they belonged to. Direct hits, the tactical officer shouted. We hurt them. Don't celebrate yet, Chen warned. They're learning, watch. The Zathar adapted instantly. Their hulls rippled, adjusting to account for multi-dimensional attacks. New equations transmitted, redefining what damage meant at a fundamental level. Second volley ineffective. Weapons reported. They've adjusted Of course they have. All ship, switch to pattern Omega 3. Kellian forces, your turn. The Kellian fighters swarmed forward. Small, outdated, absolutely furious. They didn't use fancy weapons or dimensional mathematics. They used rage and creativity and the desperate ingenuity of people defending their actual home. One fighter rammed a Zathar ship head-on. It shouldn't have worked. The Zathar vessel should have phased out of normal space, let the fighter pass through. But the Kellian pilot had covered his ship in verdant biomatter that screamed contradictory life signs, jamming the Zathar sensors with too much data. The collision worked because the Zathar couldn't calculate it fast enough. The scout ship crumpled. Impossible. The science officer gasped. You can't destroy Zathar ships with simple kinetics. You can if you're creative enough, Chen said. And angry enough. And desperate enough. Emotion is the ultimate cheat code against pure logic. Kellians, keep doing whatever you're doing. The Kellian fleet threw themselves into the battle with suicidal courage. Half of them died, but they took the Zathar scouts with them. Scout wave eliminated, tactical reported. But sensors show, oh no, the main fleet emerged, 50,000 ships. Each one the size of a city, each one radiating the mathematical certainty of inevitable victory. They moved in perfect formation, a geometric pattern so precise it hurt human minds to perceive it. At the center, protected by layers of impossible defenses, was the master processor. A ship, if it could be called that looked like a 4-dimensional hypercube folded through normal space. It pulsed with calculations, coordinates, commands. That's our target, Chen said quietly. Everything we've done, everything we're about to do, is just to create one opening. One chance to hit that processor. If we miss, we won't miss, Jelthar said. Commander, that's impossible confidence. No, it's learned confidence. You taught me that impossible just means nobody succeeded yet. Orders, Chen smiled, fierce and bright. All ships, formation Chaos 7. That's right, Chaos. No patterns, no predictability. Be random, be wild, be alive. The combined fleet scattered into beautiful disorder. Valorian discipline met Kellian desperation, met crystalline mathematics, met luminary improvisation. The result was a battle plan that wasn't a plan at all, just thousands of intelligent beings making their own decisions, adapting in real time, learning from each second. The Zathar hated it. Their calculations kept breaking. Every time they predicted where a ship would be, it was somewhere else. Every time they calculated optimal targeting, the target had already moved. Every time they tried to establish patterns, the patterns dissolved into creative chaos. They're getting frustrated, Chen observed. Well, not frustrated, they don't have emotions. But their processing efficiency is dropping. They can't handle pure randomness. Keep it up! A verdant bioship grew tentacles mid-battle and grabbed 3 Zathar vessels, pulling them into crushing embrace while singing lullabies. A crystalline cruiser split into 1,000 mirror shards, each one reflecting and amplifying attacks in unpredictable directions. A luminary warrior literally became the energy beam it was firing, riding its own attack into an enemy hull. It was madness. Beautiful, effective madness. We're winning. Jelthar breathed. We're actually winning. We're surviving, Chen corrected. Not the same thing. They're adapting, learning from every exchange. In 10 minutes, they'll have figured out how to handle chaos. We need to hit the processor now. How? It's protected by... Jelthar pulled up the tactical data. 7,000 defensive ships, computational shields that delete incoming attacks. Mathematical proofs that make it impossible to target. We'd need a miracle, or something close. I need every ship captain on this channel. Now. Hundreds of faces appeared in Jelthar's holographic display. Listen carefully, Chen said. We're going to do something monumentally stupid. I'm going to fly the Defiance straight at the master processor. They'll focus all their defenses on me. That's the opening. While they're busy trying to delete me from existence, the rest of you hit them with everything that shouldn't work, can't work, and definitely won't work. Clear, Captain? A Luminary commander objected. You'll be destroyed. The mathematical proofs surrounding that processor are based on the assumption that I want to survive. What if I don't care? What if I'm willing to accept deletion if it means creating 1 second of vulnerability?
Silence! That's insane, Jelthar said quietly. Welcome to humanity, Chen replied.
We learned from the Zathar that survival is optional. Victory is what matters. My ship is equipped with something special. A weapon we built during the darkest days of the Zathar War. We call it the Paradox Engine. What does it do? It makes me right and wrong simultaneously. Alive and dead. Here and not here. The Zathar can't calculate something that exists in logical contradiction. Their processes will jam trying to resolve the paradox. That's your window. Maybe 3 seconds. Everything depends on what you do with those 3 seconds. Captain Chen, the Emperor's voice cut in. I forbid this. You are too valuable to, with respect, Your Majesty, you don't command me. I'm human. We're very bad at following sensible orders. It's our best quality, she grinned. Besides, I won't be dying. Probably. The Paradox Engine is tricky. I might end up existing as a quantum possibility, or scattered across 11 dimensions, or turned into pure information. But definitely not dead. Mostly sure about that. Sarah? Jelthar used her name for the first time. Don't do this, Commander, she said gently. Someone has to. And I'm the one with the impossible ship and the bad habit of volunteering for suicide missions. Tell you what, if I survive, you owe me a drink. If I don't name a ship after me, deal? Before he could answer, the Defiant broke formation and accelerated toward the master processor. All ships, prepare to follow her lead, Jelthar commanded, his voice breaking. Prepare every weapon we have. Standard, modified, experimental, theoretical. If it might work, charge it. If it can't work, charge it anyway. We get one shot. The Defiant moved faster than physics should allow. Space bent around it, twisted, folded. The Zathar defense fleet converged, thousands of ships transmitting deletion protocols. She's taking fire from all sides, Tactical reported. Her shields, they're not there. They're everywhere. I don't understand the readings. The Paradox Engine is active, the science officer explained, awe in his voice. She's making herself undefined. Not invisible, literally undefined. The Zathar are trying to calculate her position, but getting contradictory answers. She's in front of them and behind them, moving forward and backward, existing and not existing. The Zathar processors screamed in mathematical anguish. Every defense ship around the master processor froze, paralyzed by impossible data. Their weapons fired at empty space. Their shields blocked attacks that weren't coming. Their processors tried to resolve an equation with no solution. Now, Chen's voice was distorted, echoing from multiple realities. I can't hold this much longer. Hit them with everything. All ships, Jelthar roared. Fire! The combined fleet unleashed everything. Valorian plasma that existed in 7 states simultaneously. Kellian missiles guided by prayer and fury. Crystalline beams that sang mathematics more beautiful than destruction. Luminary warriors who became their own weapons. Verdant biomatter that grew into the enemy hulls and bloomed. Human weapons that broke physics and apologized later. And in the center of it all, one small ship holding itself in quantum superposition, creating a 3-second window where the impossible became possible. The master processor tried to calculate, tried to adapt, tried to prove mathematically that it couldn't be harmed, but the proof required answering what Sarah Chen was. And Sarah Chen was currently both alive and deleted, here and gone, matter and energy. One and many, the equation broke, the processor froze, and in that frozen microsecond, 10,000 weapons struck simultaneously. The master processor didn't explode. It dissolved, unmade itself, forgot it had ever existed. The Zathar ships around it lost coordination instantly, each one reverting to individual operation, no longer guided by perfect collective intelligence. The processor is down. Someone screamed. "We did it, Chen," Jelthar shouted. "Captain Chen, report." Static, then slowly a voice, weak, distorted, coming from everywhere and nowhere. Did we win?" "Yes, Chen, yes." "Where are you?" "Excellent question. I appear to be... I'm currently existing as a probability wave scattered across several 100,000 cubic kilometers. This is new, also uncomfortable, also maybe permanent. On the bright side, I can see in 11 dimensions now. It's really pretty up here. Can we retrieve you? The crystalline choir might be able to reconstruct me, reconstitute me, resomething me. Give them a few hours or days. Time is weird when you're not entirely real. "But hey, I'm not dead!" "Told you." Relief flooded through Jelthar. "You're insane. I'm human. Same thing. Now finish the battle." The Zathar ships are confused, but still dangerous. "Show them what you've learned." The remaining Zathar vessels attacked without coordination. They were still powerful, still dangerous, but no longer inevitable. Just machines without guidance. Puzzles that could be solved. The combined fleet tore through them methodically, not with overwhelming force, with cooperation, with creativity, with the kind of tactical brilliance that comes from dozens of species sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. 2 hours later, the last Zathar ship retreated into hyperspace. The battle was over. The combined fleet had lost 40% of its ships. Thousands had died. The sector was filled with debris and damage and devastation, but they'd won. Casualty reports coming in. The communications officer said quietly. Valorian fleet lost 60 ships. Kellian forces lost 30. Other Concordance members. Send relief ships to all survivors. Jelthar interrupted. Medical teams, engineering support, whatever they need. Prioritize former enemies. The Kellians, the Drex, everyone we conquered. They bled for us. We owe them everything. Yes, Commander. And get me a channel to the crystalline choir. I want Captain Chen reconstituted immediately. I don't care if she's spread across half the system. Find every atom and put her back together. It took 6 hours. The crystalline choir sang Chen back into existence, note by note, equation by equation, gathering her probability wave and collapsing it back into a single definite human. When she finally materialized on the eternal dominance's bridge, solid and whole, Jelthar was waiting. "You owe me a drink," she said, grinning weakly. "I owe you 1,000 drinks," he replied. "And a fleet, and an apology. And how about we start with the drink?" They sat in Jelthar's quarters, a Valorian commander and a human captain who taught an empire how to be better. "What happens now?" Jelthar asked. "The Zathar will return. They always do. Maybe, but next time you'll be ready. You'll have allies. You'll have knowledge. You'll have something more important than weapons." "What's that?" "Purpose. You're not conquerors anymore, Zelthar. You're protectors. The Valorian Empire died today. Something better was born. He considered this. What should we call ourselves?" "That's up to you. But may I suggest something that reflects what you've learned? Not Valorian Empire. Not Valorian Dominion. Something that shows you understand what strength really means. The Valorian Shield." Chen smiled. "Perfect. Shields protect. They don't attack. They don't conquer. They stand between danger and those who need protection. That's what you are now. That's what you'll teach others to become. And humanity, what will you do? Keep teaching. Keep exploring. Keep looking for civilizations that need a wake-up call. The galaxy's a big place. Lots of sleeping giants who need someone to shake them and remind them what they could be." They drank in silence for a moment. "Chen," Jelthar said finally, "thank you. For everything. For the lessons. For the pain. For showing us what we'd forgotten. You're welcome. But don't thank me too much. The real work starts now. You have to rebuild relationships with every species you conquered. Earn their trust. Prove you've changed. That's going to take decades. Maybe centuries. We have time. Good, because the galaxy needs you. Not the old Valorian Empire. The new Valorian Shield. Strong enough to protect. Wise enough to know when not to fight. Brave enough to admit when you're wrong." "One question," Jelthar said. "Why us? Why did humanity choose to help the Valorians instead of just destroying us? You could have. Easily." Chen was quiet for a long moment. "Because," she said finally, 200 years ago, When Earth was burning and humanity was dying, there was one species who could have helped us. One civilization strong enough to fight the Zathar alongside us. They chose not to. They decided we weren't worth the risk. Who? Doesn't matter. They're gone now, conquered by someone else. The point is, I remember what it felt like to be alone, to watch the galaxy ignore us while we bled. I swore if humanity survived, we'd never let that happen to someone else. We'd be the people who show up, who help, who teach, even if it's hard, even if it's dangerous. Even if the students are arrogant warrior empires who spent 3,000 years bullying everyone. She raised her glass. To second chances. To growth. To the hard lessons that make us better. And to every bully who decides to become a hero instead. Jelthar raised his glass as well. To Captain Sarah Chen, he said, who taught the unteachable. And to humanity, who remembered what it means to be kind even after learning to be strong. They drank. Outside the window, the combined fleet began repairs. Valorian ships worked alongside Kellian vessels. Crystalline engineers taught verdant biologics. Luminari energy beings played with human children who'd been evacuated from damaged ships. The galaxy was changing, growing, learning, and in the center of it all, one small human ship sat peacefully, its hull still showing scars from existing in too many dimensions at once. The Defiant had earned its name. 6 months later, Jelthar stood before the Galactic Concordance Assembly. 300 species gathered in holographic unity waited to hear him speak. Members of the Concordance, he began. 6 months ago, the Valorian Empire requested membership in your organization. You were skeptical. We had conquered, oppressed, destroyed. We were the bullies of the galaxy, and you had every reason to refuse us. He paused. Captain Sarah Chen convinced you to give us a chance. One test, one battle, one opportunity to prove we could be better. Today, I report that the Valorian Shield, our new name, our new purpose, has spent 6 months rebuilding what we destroyed. We have returned sovereignty to 47 worlds. We have paid reparations to species we wronged. We have opened our technology for peaceful sharing. We have learned to ask, how can we help instead of, how can we take? 300 species listened. We are not perfect. We still think like warriors. We still default to force as solution. But we are learning, growing, changing. And we request formally that the Concordance accept us not as conquerors, but as students. Not as the strongest, but as those willing to become better. A vote was called. 300 species voted. 297 voted yes. Welcome, the Concordance speaker said. To the Galactic Concordance, may you protect as fiercely as you once conquered. Jelthar bowed. After the ceremony, he found Captain Chen waiting. Congratulations, she said. How does it feel to be official? Terrifying. We have so much to learn, so much to fix. Good. The moment you think you're done learning is the moment you start dying. Speaking of which, she handed him a datapad. New assignment. There's a civilization in the Andromeda region. Aggressive, militaristic, really good at war. Terrible at everything else. Sound familiar? Jelthar smiled. A real smile. Easy now after months of practice. You want me to teach them? The Concordance wants you to teach them. You were the student. Now you're the teacher. Full circle. Think you can do it? Probably not, but I'll try anyway. That's what you taught me, isn't it? That trying is better than succeeding without effort? Exactly. Though fair warning, these guys make the old Valorian Empire look friendly. They've been conquering their galaxy for 5,000 years. Even better. I love a challenge now, Chen laughed. What happened to the Valorian commander who thought war should be efficient and easy? He learned something, Jelthar said quietly. He learned that the best victories are the ones you have to earn. That the greatest strength is knowing when not to fight. That real power comes from making others stronger, not yourself stronger. He learned from the best teacher in the galaxy. Flattery will get you everywhere. Okay, when can you leave? Tomorrow. But first, he pulled out 2 glasses and a bottle. You promised to teach me about human drinks. Something called whiskey. Now that, Chen said, grinning, is a lesson I'm happy to repeat. They sat together watching the stars. 2 warriors who'd learned that the strongest blade is the one kept sheathed. That the greatest victory is the one that creates peace. that the most important battle is the one you fight within yourself. The Terran Dreadnought Defiant had redefined victory, not through conquest, but through teaching others that conquest wasn't victory at all. And across the galaxy, civilizations that had once feared the Valorian Empire began to hope that maybe, just maybe, even the strongest bullies could learn to become the bravest protectors. The universe was vast, full of challenges, full of wars yet to fight. But it was also full of teachers like Sarah Chen and students like Jelthar, and the promise that tomorrow could always be better than today if you were willing to learn, if you were brave enough to change, if you remembered that the greatest strength wasn't the power to destroy, but the courage to build. The end, they conquered worlds without effort. But a single human ship taught them that easy victories are hollow, that real strength requires struggle, and that the greatest warriors are those who learn when not to fight. This is the story of the day the Valorian Empire died, and something far better was born.